So what can happen at this joint is that sometimes one hip bone goes one way and another hip bone goes another way. We get kind of a torque or a misalignment right at the pubic symphysis. This can cause all kinds of issues in the body because your pelvic floor muscles are coming from the anterior aspect of both the sacrum and the coccyx, and then coming around like a bowl on the bottom of the pelvis and attaching to the inside of that pubic symphysis, the inside of those pubic bones. So if one side moves one way and the other side moves another way, then we have different torque on each side of your pelvic floor muscles. This can cause some very interesting issues. So let's talk about what that might look like, right? It is possible at times that you have one hip bone that is moved into an anterior pelvic tilt. So I'm going to stand next to this skeleton and see if I can do this in my own body, right? So an anterior pelvic tilt means that the iliac crest has come forward, has come anterior. That means that the ischial tuberosity has moved posterior. So it's tilted like this. That's going to actually create more of a lordotic curve in the lower back. So then it moves those lumbar vertebrae toward the front. It moves the hip bone closer to the rib cage, and you get kind of a pinching of those muscles in the lower back. So that's an anterior pelvic tilt. A posterior pelvic tilt happens when a hip goes the other direction. So in a posterior pelvic tilt, the iliac crest goes posterior to the back, but the ischial tuberosity goes to the front. And so it tilts this way. And that's going to straighten out the lumbar spine and pull the lordotic curve out of it. So that can be just as painful. You're going to create space here in the lower back as you have a posterior pelvic tilt, but you're going to tighten the front so that you're really tightening the musculature in the front of the hip. Where we really run into issues with the pubic symphysis is when one hip goes one way and the other hip goes the other way. So you have one hip that's in an anterior pelvic tilt, meaning that this portion of the bone is going to move to the back. So it's going to go like that. And then you have the other hip that's in a posterior pelvic tilt, meaning that this portion of the bone is going to move to the front. So it's going to go like this. Now just think about that for a second right here at the pubic symphysis. If this is moved to the front and this is moved to the back, like so, right? My arm's blocking that entire shot, like that. That's going to put a tremendous amount of pressure on the pubic symphysis and on all of the musculature attaching to the pubic symphysis.